Investigators in Georgia yesterday sent subpoenas to Senator Lindsey Graham and other key members of former President Donald Trump's legal team, including Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman. The Fulton County Special Grand Jury also subpoenaed other lawyers, all of whom worked with Trump as he contested the 2020 election results. That special grand jury was impaneled this year to assist the investigation of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis into whether there were any coordinated attempts to unlawfully alter the outcome of the 2020 elections in Georgia. Among the incidents Willis has said she's looking into, a November 2020 phone call Senator Graham made to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Raffensperger has said Graham pressed him about whether he had the power to reject certain absentee ballots, which Raffensperger interpreted as a suggestion to toss out legally cast votes. Graham denied that's what he was trying to do, calling the allegation ridiculous. With us, we've got White House bureau chief at Politico and the host of Way Too Early, Jonathan Lemire. So, John, Rudy Giuliani, we should add as well, actually testified and spoke to the Georgia state legislature a number of times around this, just peddling these debunked false claims about voter fraud in the state of Georgia. The DA in that state, the DA in Fulton County, they've got a lot to work with here.
Lesson learned. Don't call Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, because you're going to get in trouble if you do. There's been so much focus, of course, on the call that former President Trump made to the Georgia Secretary of State, asking him to find the specific number of votes needed to flip the results in that state, to give him the victory as opposed to Joe Biden. But now this call, which we didn't know existed in the past, has come under intense scrutiny here, that Graham, calling Raffensperger, suggesting that, hey, you should perhaps not count some of these ballots, which officials there in Georgia interpreted to mean casting out some of these votes that were legally cast, which, of course, is a real problem. And Giuliani, Willie, as you mentioned, is someone who was traveled up and down the state of Georgia, particularly there in Fulton County, and pushing the former president's big lie. So there have been all along some analysts who have believed that perhaps the greatest legal peril to Trump was this case out of Georgia, which has been methodically, quietly, slowly moving along behind the scenes, even as, of course, the nation has been captivated by the January 6 hearings, which we should note have now scheduled another hearing. Next week will be another moment for that committee to convene. And to this point, every one of those hearings has delivered with new evidence, new testimony, compelling narratives, all aimed at the Department of Justice and itself may be providing some criminal charges at some point.
Willie, it is so fascinating, the outsized influence that Georgia has had. Not to be too melodramatic, but let's go full Meacham here. In early September 1864, General Sherman marches into Atlanta. Union troops are in trouble. Sherman takes the city of Atlanta, marches to the sea, and his campaign in Georgia ends up being the Confederacy's own Waterloo. It also, of course, helps reelect Abraham Lincoln, who probably wouldn't have been reelected if he didn't do that. But Georgia may be proving to be Donald Trump's Waterloo as well. You think about the fact that he lost his campaign there. Think about the fact that when he went in, he actually lost Republicans their Senate majority. Ask any Republican senator that's sitting right now, and they'll privately at least tell you that they'd be in the majority, but for Donald Trump blubbering and sweating his way through Georgia and getting two Democrats elected in special elections. You look at this veneer of inevitability forever shattered in the Republican Party when the two people that he hated the most, the two people he declared war on the most, Brian Kemp, who he said he'd support Stacey Abrams over Brian Kemp, and Brad Raffensperger, both of them just completely crushed his hand-picked opponents. And now you got a DA that's looking into his attempts to rig the election, to rig the recount, to rig the vote count, to rig, with Lindsey Graham, the Secretary of State says, to rig the mail-in votes, to throw out mail-in votes. Georgia, we always talk about Tim Russert in 2000 going Florida, Florida, Florida. For Donald Trump, Looks like Georgia may end up being his Waterloo.
First of all, Joe, you never go full Meacham. You know better than that. You just can't pull it off. Only he can do that.
Exactly.
But you're right. And his handpicked candidate, Donald Trump's handpicked candidate in the Senate race, Herschel Walker, is trailing in the polls behind Senator Warnock right now. Privately, many Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, would have liked to see somebody else. But this was a local legend in the state of Georgia, Herschel Walker, who was anointed by Donald Trump because he played for him when he owned the New Jersey Generals in 1984 and 5. So we'll see how that race turns out. But there's some frustration about that, too. If they lose a seat, they think they can win there. But you're right, Joe. You don't have to be Columbo exactly to figure out what happened in the state of Georgia, because so much of it, as Jonathan said, is on tape. You know, Raffensperger recorded the phone call with Donald Trump where he told him to go find the votes. Rudy Giuliani's testimony, that was open testimony in front of the state legislature where he's just pushing these debunked claims. Senator Lindsey Graham on the phone call asking Raffensperger if there's anything he can do to throw out the votes. I mean, it's all there on tape. It's all out in the open. So as I said before, the Fulton County DA has an awful lot to work with here.
We've got a lot more ahead on the January 6th investigation, including whether former White House counsel Pat Cipollone will appear for a deposition today before the House Select Committee. Plus, the White House weighs in on Brittany Griner's letter to President Biden, in which she pleads with him for help. We'll be joined by Reverend Al Sharpton, who is calling on the administration to arrange a visit to the WNBA star jailed and on trial in Russia. You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.